I am back, and this time I'm going to do this the right way. And I should have done this from the beginning. But before we get into the Israel Hamas war in this episode and all future episodes, this will be available on YouTube, on Rumble, and major podcasting platforms. So make sure to do the necessary action to get this show out, pump it up, do what you need to do. I will be featuring sports, politics, and potentially true crime if there's a case that piques my interest. In case you haven't noticed through my TikToks, I am 110% behind Israel in this conflict. I make no bones about it. They have gone more than out of their way to prevent exactly this from happening. I'm not surprised by the outcome of Hamas coming out and committing this kind of cruelty to human beings. However, I am very surprised by the response that has happened in this conflict. There are more than what I could have ever imagined sympathizing with Hamas, taking Hamas's side, blaming Israel for all of this happening. You have people out there straight up chanting, "Gas the Jews," like here in Sydney, Australia. And then journalists getting attacked for asking questions. On top of that, more and more, I try to look at the differences in the Hamas and Palestinians. Just like in 2020, I'll try to look at the differences between the Black Lives Matter group, the people that are there to fight injustice. Then you have the people that are there to cause riots. Then there are the Ponzi scheme runners at the very top. And just like there being a difference between Black Lives Matter and Antifa, you try to separate the two the best you can. The problem here, I am seeing more and more the deeper and deeper I look into that line between Hamas and Palestinians, it's almost non-existent. More and more, they are looking to be one and the same. But in Gaza, the day after 9/11 in 2001, the darkest day in American history, Palestinians, they didn't have Hamas to blame. Hamas is the one doing the atrocities. It's not us. It's not us. We're not cheering them on. 9/11, September 11th, 2001. The day after that, this is what Palestine looked like.
Atmosphere, the V sign for victory being displayed in East Jerusalem today among jubilant Palestinians that the United States had been subject to this attack. What are we to make of that, Jennifer? Yasser Arafat may issue this condemnation. Look at this. We're seeing people applauding, clapping, smiling, happy to know that thousands of Americans have died in this sneak attack. And there you see a V for victory sign.
And that was 6 years before Hamas was elected, democratically elected, duly elected, voted in by the people. And then these are the people that Joe Biden and the Democrats are trying to help. Not to mention, we are roughly 3 weeks removed from the worst attack, the biggest loss of Jewish life since the Holocaust. And there are people out here protesting free Palestine, whatever that's supposed to mean. And so far, 20 trucks have gone into Gaza, despite the fact that Hamas has more resources to survive. They have more than enough. And Hamas, they do not care about the Palestinian people. This IDF spokesperson, Jonathan Concris, is explaining this here.
Hamas has fuel. Hamas has quite a lot of fuel, about 1,000 liters, if not more than that. And they can decide where to use that fuel. And I find it strikingly absent from the discussion, from many discussions, what is Hamas doing with the resources that it has. It's only about Israel and Egypt and UN and international organizations. What about Hamas?
We have people here in America that are chanting from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. And these people are one of two things. These people are either completely ignorant or they are viciously anti-Semitic, or both. But for those who may not know, the chant from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, that is an open call to exterminate all Jews in Israel. It is truly incredible to me that to see these people, how many people believe that it is Israel that is oppressing the Palestinians. And in reality, Israel is the one that has been trying to prop up the Palestinian people. But the oppressors are Hamas and all the people who defend Hamas. And the 20 trucks that have gone into Palestine for aid, how much of that is actually going to the Palestinian people? How much of that? If I was a betting man, I would say zero, none, zilch. None of that is going to the Palestinian people. I mean, we had the UN sent water pipes in to increase the water supply in Palestine. Hamas took them and turned them into rockets to chuck at Israel. And yet we're supposed to sympathize with Hamas, apparently, according to our moral betters. Now, I want you to do me a favor here. I want you to put on the tinfoil hat for me. And let's say, what if this aid isn't food, water, stuff to help the humans survive? What if it was a way for the Biden administration to help Hamas fight back against Israel? Well, we do know that Biden has a strange and disturbing obsession with helping terrorists. I mean, you look at Russia's not so much terrorist, more of just evil dictator, but you look at Russia. Biden cuts off the Keystone Pipeline, forcing the US to buy oil from Russia, allowing them to fund the attack against Ukraine. Well, then we have the Afghanistan pullout, which left 13 men and women of our armed services dead, and billions of dollars in weaponry just left. Don't need it. See you later. You can keep it. That was left to the Taliban, which is kind of strange because some initial reports said that Hamas was using weapons made in America. So that's a bit disturbing, I would say. A little bit. Little bit disturbing. And we also can't forget the $6 billion to Iran in a prison swap. And then not only that, but not enforcing sanctions that Trump put on Iran, which allowed the Iranians to sell 200,000 barrels of oil a day, allowing them to make $60 billion to fund not just their own terrorist operations, but Hamas and Hezbollah. I don't think it's crazy because it's happened before. This is a bag of some kind of food, but what's inside? That doesn't look like food, ladies and gentlemen. Well, those are bullets. Those are bullets. So, would that surprise anyone that Joe Biden is trying to fund Hamas and disguise it as humanitarian aid? At this point, nothing shocks me. But don't worry, we also have members of Congress who are violently anti-Semitic. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, all of them, as which my political idol, Ben Shapiro, would dub them as the Hamas wing of the Democratic Party, and rightfully so. Here's Rashida Tlaib.
Continue to watch people think it's okay to bomb a hospital where children. You know what's so hard sometimes is watching those videos and the people telling the kids don't cry and like let them cry. And they're shaking, and somebody, you know this, they keep telling them not to cry in Arabic. They can cry, I can cry, we all can cry. If we're not crying, something is wrong.
Tlaib wasn't the only one with a soundbite that makes you cringe. But, we'll also ignore the fact that this was days after the whole hospital missile strike was completely debunked by the IDF, by video, by radar, by all metrics. It was completely debunked. It was a bad missile that was shot from Gaza, and not only was it not a hospital strike, it hit a parking lot near the hospital. Didn't even hit the hospital. And 500 dead, and the media still ran with it because it came from Hamas, known psychopathic liars. But we gotta believe we gotta believe the terrorist group because they're terrorists. But anyway, and I saw the soundbite, so you gotta see the soundbite. And if Tlaib didn't make you look at people cross-eyed, this one just might. Here's AOC trying to act smart.
So yes, today, if it came to the United States Congress, additional funding for the Iron Dome.
I think if it was explicitly around that, I have concerns about white phosphorus. I have concerns about the respect for about human rights.
AOC needs some acting lessons. For those of you who may not know, earlier that week, AOC voted present on a bill to help Israel fund their Iron Dome. And this is, for those of you who may not know, the Iron Dome is purely a defense weapon system that is used to intercept incoming rockets. Strangely, all coming from the same place. You guessed it, Palestine. And without the Iron Dome, Israel would be forced to turn Palestine into a parking lot. But, and then we got the grand finale of stupidity, the grand finale of anti-Semitism. Here is the Honorable Ilhan Omar.
How is it that we are serving in a body where there are members who condemn us for asking for peace, for ceasefire? The most simplest thing.
You don't get to call for a ceasefire after Hamas killed 1,400 Jewish civilians? No country worth its salt would even consider that. Israel hasn't considered it, nor should they consider it. Israel has a duty to its people to hunt down every single member of Hamas and send them straight to hell. Now, I've said this time and time again, and I'm going to say it again. Every single civilian death is on Hamas and Joe Biden. Hamas for using civilians as human shields. Why do you think all their military operations are based in mosques, in hospitals, by parks, by schools? Because they know Israel is not going to attack them. Because they use civilians as human shields. This time, Hamas went a step too far, and Israel is going after them, and rightfully so. Now, and also, as I mentioned earlier, Joe Biden, he is also responsible. He's the one that helped fund Iran, who's funding this attack with Hamas, to the tune of $6 billion in the prisoner swap, and the $60 billion Iran was able to sell in oil because Joe Biden ignored the sanctions that Donald Trump placed on Iran. But, those pesky facts get in the way of the narrative, right? But the real black eye of modern America is shining real badly in the fallout of the Israel-Hamas war. From Harvard, having 30 different groups blame Israel for the attacks on Israel from Hamas. That's weird. That's a little anti-Semitic, a little bit. And then we have protests at the University of Washington. Back to the old from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free group. The University of Washington, and we have a clip of a Jewish student from the University of Washington scared out of her mind, and rightfully so. They're literally chanting the extermination of Jews. Here's what that looked like.
Allowed! They want our people dead! They want us killed!
And so part of it,
How is it allowed? How are you allowing this? Why aren't you putting us down? They want us dead! Please end it, please!
This isn't about what happened on Why can't they just go up there?
So I just want to make this clear. I want to make sure I haven't missed anything. So, according to college campuses, calling for the extermination of Jews is completely okay. But Lord forbid, my gosh, if Michael Knowles, Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk, or, oh God forbid, the evilest one of all, Riley Gaines, were to step on the campus and say that boys are boys, girls are girls, and gender is not interchangeable, and nobody gives a damn about your pronouns. That is hate speech and cannot be had. And on top of that, they will run you into a classroom, keep you hostage for 3 hours, and the dean will cheer that on. You happen to Riley Gaines, right? Again, that was Riley Gaines saying that men should not be competing in women's sports, and that a boy is a boy and a girl is a girl, and sex and gender is not interchangeable. So there's that. So once again, a recap. Calling for the extermination of Jews and holding women hostage is acceptable on college campuses. But having a speaker with a different political view is so bad and so horrible, it may cause the disbanding of conservative groups or even expulsion. Definitely alienated. Now, while the Democrats are on the verge of plunging us into World War III, we have the Republicans taking a magnifying glass, holding it up into their eye, and looking directly up into the sun. All while riding a barbed wire fence like it's a horse. 'Cause it's a random Tuesday. Now, Matt Gaetz, as you may know, led the crusade. Jesus, pizza! I need to learn how to talk. Matt Gaetz led the crusade to throw Kevin McCarthy out of speakership 3 weeks ago because he did that. Nobody knows why. But Gaetz led the charge with absolutely zero plan of who to replace Kevin McCarthy with. And making this dog and pony show even stupider. Now, Matt Gaetz, he did make the claim that he wanted to oust McCarthy because he worked with Democrats. As Matt Gaetz works with Democrats to get Kevin McCarthy thrown out of the speakership. Riddle me that one, Batman. My question here is, what is McCarthy supposed to do? He has to make concessions to Democrats. They own the House, they own the White House, they own the Senate. McCarthy's job is to make sure nothing insane gets passed and get as many things as possible in bills, which I thought he was doing a pretty good job. Honestly, I did. I thought he was doing fine. Wasn't too concerned. And being the speaker when the Senate and the presidency are of the opposite party, there's not much you can do other than just say no, screw off, get out of here. But Gaetz, he's got to get that TV time and those donations and be that jackass rebel wannabe, that rebel without a cause, a plan, or anything to move the Conservative Party forward. And I sincerely hope that somebody steps up to the plate and primaries Gates in 2024. Because after this dog and pony show, he needs to go. Out. See you later. Do not collect $200. Do not pass go. And now, to make matters worse, as of by the time you would watch this last night, the leader, the latest nominee for Speaker of the House, Tom Emmer, he backed out of the race because he wasn't going to get enough votes. And on top of that, Donald Trump said that voting for him would be a big mistake. And, well, that kind of puts the end to that. So the latest news, as of this recording, is that Kevin McCarthy is going to make a second run for Speaker with fellow Congressman Jim Jordan as Assistant Speaker. What entails on an Assistant Speaker? I don't know. I don't know. But at this point, and I think I speak for a lot of conservatives and Republicans here, I no longer care who the speaker is. Whether it's Kevin McCarthy, Jim Jordan, Brian Donald from Florida, I don't care. As long as there's somebody who can go up there and make sure that Biden and Chuck Schumer do not get stupid things passed. That is the most important thing. Now, the next, it's a new segment. And I've thought about this for several days. Several days. Oh, several hours. But this segment is called If I Were President. If I were president. So I'm going to lay out what I would do in current situations. And this week, obviously, I'm going to do Israel Hamas and how I would handle it. Now, under my presidency, we wouldn't have even gotten to this point because Iran would be sanctioned into oblivion and they wouldn't be able to fund all this. But anyway, that's not how the game works. But here's how I would handle it coming into the attack. So that Sunday, the day after it happened, I am out in front of the White House in a press conference, calling a press conference condemning the acts of Hamas and pledging full support to Israel. And then, as Joe Biden has done, send ships to the Mediterranean to make sure that this thing stays regional. It stays between Hamas and Israel, and it does not expand. An expansion of this conflict means that we are going into World War III, and nobody wants that. Iran doesn't want it. The U.S. doesn't want it. Israel doesn't want it. Hamas might want it. But nobody wants this. Now, then this is where I kind of drift off to somewhere else that Joe Biden doesn't have the balls to go down. Next thing I would do, I would hop on the phone with Qatar and tell them we are coming for the Hamas leadership. You keep them where they are, and if they're not where they're supposed to be, you are taking their place. And then once we get them, deal with them. Once I got word of the hostage situation, back on camera, looking directly in the camera, as I am now, and I tell them that Hamas, You are to release all the American hostages right now. We are not playing games. And if we have to go in ourselves and get those hostages, it's not going to end well for anybody. Because if me being the president at this point, I don't give two craps about the UN, about NATO, about what countries think of us. My biggest concern is getting American citizens out by any means necessary. And if that means sending in SEAL Team 6 with air support, with everything necessary to make sure we can get in there, get our people, get out with everyone intact, we are going to do it. We are going to do it fast. We are going to do it efficiently. And we are going to put as many Hamas members in the ground as humanly possible. And in the same time, giving the support that Israel needs to get their hostages out and put any remaining member of Hamas in the ground. And get this done and over with as quick and as efficiently as humanly possible. Then I would also bring the NATO leaders together and work on getting their hostages out. And then on the domestic front, fairly simple, very short, very sweet. When it pertains to the Israel-Hamas conflict, I hop on camera, I look directly into the camera. If you are here as an immigrant on a visa and you are chanting from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, and you are chanting and pro-Hamas, cheering them on, your visa will be pulled, you will be deported, and you will not be welcomed back. That is what I would do if I were president. Now, before I bid my goodbyes on this show, on the first political edition of this revamped Dylan Hilder show, I want you to be made aware of this film coming out. It's called Police State. Here's the trailer.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
Chief Division Counsel and DOJ have approved a no-knock breach. We want the subject to be on display, doing the walk of shame, full visual impact. Any questions?
Are we becoming a police state?
Government told American citizens they couldn't go to church on Sunday.
I've never seen anything like it. It may be the Russia other people grew up in, but not my America.
FBI warrant, come to the door now!
There's a heavy banging at my door. Open up! There's 15 marked units on my property. I got SWAT in the back of my house.
They took a battering ram to my door.
6 a.m. I hear boom, 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 and hear about 6 to 8 military-style soldiers, with the tallest one of them pointing an automatic rifle at my head.
FBI, we have an arrest warrant!
Shock you out of sleep, drag you out of your house half clothed, refuse to give you a warrant, ransack your house.
Now I'm facing 15 years in federal prison
for doing nothing other than exercising my right to free speech.
I had no reason to be attacked.
I hope that you remember Matt's name and the role you played in killing him.
How did we give the state this kind of power?
9/11 changed everything.
We're going to expand the Bureau from law enforcement to domestic intelligence. Legal shackles are now off.
It used to be Islamic terrorism. That threat has kind of dissipated.
Our focus is shifting.
They're moving to domestic extremism. It really paints anybody who's right of center.
What we need is a person to look at. And then we go find out what crime you did.
If you're a pro-life, pro-family Catholic, they define you as radical.
The demand for domestic terrorism vastly outstrips the supply.
When candidate Trump came down the escalators, the government had a meltdown.
We are going to drain the swamp.
We'll see about that.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you.
The Patriot Act and FISA were used against Donald Trump.
Google literally rewrote their news algorithm based upon what Trump was doing so that they could get this guy.
You just take out the word Russiagate and you put in COVID origins. You take out COVID origins and you put in Hunter Biden's laptop. You take that out and you put in January 6th. It's the replicated play from the deep state and their partners in the media.
They're not just deplatforming you. They are trying to throw people in prison.
If they're coming for me, they're coming for you.
Hands on your head!
These are anti-government,
We have freedom of religion and freedom of speech!
violent extremists, and they must be dealt with. We can do anything we want.
Police State. Exclusively in theaters October 23rd and 25th. Tickets sold only on policestatefilm.net.
That film is right now in select theaters. I think the deadline's very close. It's only in theaters for a very limited amount of time. However, it will be available to purchase the stream on Rumble. I think it's going to be like $24.99 is from what I've read, on October 28th. As soon as you can, go buy the video, go watch it. Keep an open mind. Be willing to learn. Now, this documentary was made by Dinesh D'Souza. I apologize if I'm butchering the name. He was also one of the people that made the documentary 2,000 Mules. There's some that I haven't watched 2,000 Mules. Don't really have too much of an interest in it. It's done, over with, not much we can do about it. About the 2020 election. All we can do at this point is focus on how we can be better in the 2024 election. And that is using the tactics made available to us by the Democrats, by their own tactics. Because we can do what the Democrats do much better than what Democrats do. We have the ability to do it. We can do it. We will do it. And we must, and this is not optional at this point. This is a must if you want this country to remain free and home of the brave. We must get either Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis, whoever is at the top of the ticket, back in the White House. If you want this country to remain the last beacon of freedom, the last beacon of hope, and revive the American dream. That is the only way we save this country. Because this country cannot last another 4 years of Democratic leadership. I'm Dylan Hildreth. This is the Dylan Hildreth Show. Make sure to like the video, subscribe, do what is necessary to get this video, this podcast, pushed out to the masses. I thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time on the Dylan Hildreth Show.